1,000
minus that.
minus that, and whichever one's excess.
Put a credit or debit.
Whichever one's excess.
And he kicks in the PS4.
So we had like 1,000.
So
And we had 880, so 1,000 minus.
So my plan, our plan today, we're gonna look at sections 9.3 and 9.4. 9.3 is a quickie, I think there's just like a half a dozen slides or whatever. 9.4, there might be 10 or 11 or something, a few more, but not too bad. So in 9.3, we're talking about posting from a purchase journal. What does posting mean again? It's like you're transferring into the ledger, right? That's what we mean by posting. So, for example, if we have a transaction recorded in our purchase journal, you find the corresponding vendor subledger, and you're just gonna transfer in that transaction. So you start by doing the date, and then the post reference, so that's gonna be for page 11. And then take our credit value to the credit column, and then update the current balance.
Why did the whole thing longer?
Who's thirsty? Does everybody feel okay there?
Wait, so that balance is just given from the previous?
Yeah, so the balance would have been when we opened the ledger, that was the balance. And then we're just kind of updating that balance based on these transactions. And then we have to remember to transfer that vendor number then into our post reference into our process journal. So we got to complete the cycle there. Everybody feel okay?
Yeah.
So to total and rule our process journal, we have the single rule that says this is the end of our transactions. We have the date in which we're doing the totaling. We write the entry total, and then we sum down the total amount of credits in our purchase journal. And then double rule to show that this is the end of the month and that's the total. We're done. So to kind of confirm that, we're going to transfer the that total from our process journal to two places. It's going to go into the purchases ledger, which is like the parent ledger for all of our vendor accounts. I think, or is the vendor accounts under the vendor accounts are in the accounts payable. I'm sorry, that's where they're the sub. But we're going to transfer that total to both the purchases ledger and the accounts payable ledger. And again, the vendor accounts live under the accounts payable ledger. Those are the subsidiary ledgers to that one. So again, we date those two entries. We transfer the page number of the purchase journal to the post reference. We record the debit and credit accordingly. Update our totals. And then reference the two places on the purchases journal of where we're taking that number to. So that it's two post references, but we don't use the post reference column because there's two of them, and it's not an individual transaction, so we don't use the post reference column for something like this because it's not a transaction, it's like a balance that we're moving into these two locations. Is that okay? So we want to frequently make sure we're posting from our purchase journal to our accounts payable ledger to ensure that these vendor accounts are paid on time and that we maintain a ongoing relationship with that vendor and continue to buy things through them. Why is it important to record a posting reference in the accounts payable ledger? Again, you're creating a paper trail of like where these transactions come from. So if you had to audit that, you could trace this back and go, okay, oh, this amount of money was due to this shipment that arrived on this date, that was signed for by this employee, you know, so you know when stuff arrived and what it's related to. Why is the vendor number written in the post-reference column of the processes journal? Again, creating that paper trail so you can trace back and find the what individual vendor this related to. Joey?
I just had a question on the previous general ledger.
Sure.
Like for where you put in debit or credit, is the purchases always in debit? The total always?
Yeah, so let's scroll back and look at this page here. This is the one you're talking about, right? So yes, the purchases are always gonna be into a debit column and the accounts payable is gonna always be the total will always be a credit because it's money you owe. The purchases is represented as a debit because I think those are now assets that you've acquired and we're treating that as a debit because it's representing a physical thing that you've now bought. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I think we're still treating this as like a merchandising business. So our purchases are stuff that we now have on hand. And I think you guys wanted to have liked to do both of the things in a row and then go back and do the thing. Okay, the Cengage stuff after we've done all the notes. So now we're going to talk about how we track cash payments. So again, yeah.
How do you do that?
Sure. You're a merchandising business. There's probably a fair amount of transactions that are done just in cash at the cash register. So we have in this type of situation, we're going to use a special journal for cash payments. Remember, we talked about there being like 5 special journals. One of them was purchasing journal, which we just talked about. This other is going to be our cash payment journal. So again, the format for this cash payment journal should look like this. Oops. The retail price listed in the catalog or on the internet site is called a list price. That's how much you're paying. A trade discount is a reduction in the list price granted to a merchandising business. So for example, if you and I wanted to go on to Nike and buy a pair of shoes, it's going to be more than what Dick's Sporting Goods pays for their order of Nike shoes because they are typically buying in bulk. The price after a trade discount has been deducted from the list price is referred to as net price. A cash discount is a deduction that a vendor allows on an invoice amount to encourage prompt payment. So like, you know, people buy and sell houses, right? Oftentimes you can underbid if you have like an all cash offer where you don't have to deal with a bank and loans and any of this. You just cut a check and you hand the person the check and there's no mortgage company that has to go through and closing costs and all that. You can usually get a reduction in your price by doing that. Oftentimes the same thing is like if you're in like if you're a contractor and you're going to buy a bunch of tile or a bunch of materials to build a home, if you buy all in cash, you can usually get a better price than if you want to buy on account. A journal amount column that is not headed with an account title is called a general amount column. So cash payment of an expense, so we wrote a check to Kessler Promotions for advertising for $600. The check number was $689. So that's a debit to our advertising expense and a credit to cash. So the debit goes into that general column and the credit goes into cash. Whenever you're paying for cash, it's gonna be a credit to cash. And obviously then the corresponding other half of our transaction needs to be a debit somewhere. Since it's definitely not accounts payable, it's gonna go in the general debit. Does that feel okay? Again, date, title, check number, amounts for debits and credits. Okay. Next transaction, wrote a check to Wells Office Supply Store for supplies for $56.20. The check was $690. So again, the debit would be going into supplies, right? That's not accounts payable, the other option for debit, so it goes into the general column. So the supplies was a debit, cash again is a credit because cash is leaving our pocket. Supplies are debit because we're gaining some stuff, some materials to do business. And then once again, we date, title, check number, debit and credit. You okay? So cash payments for purchases. So we purchased merchandise from Polar Refrigeration for cash, $480. The check number was $697. So here we have a debit to purchases. We're gaining some stuff, merchandise, and a credit to cash because we have to pay out $480. So again, in our cash payments journal, it's not an accounts payable because we're not paying a bill. This is directly for merchandise. So it's a debit to general still. And again, date, title, blah, 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 all that good jazz. Everybody's okay? Cash payments on accounts with purchases discounts, purchase discounts. The period of time during which a customer may take a cash discount is called the discount period. When a company that has purchased merchandise on account takes a cash discount, it is called a purchases discount. An account that reduces a related account on a financial statement is called a contra account. So, an example here, paid cash on account to Gall Electric for $627.20, covering purchases invoice number 489 for $640, less the 2% discount, that's $12.80. We use check number 702. Hi, Luca, what's up?
I had a question.
Sure, what's up?
So, one of the estimates where said it was a concert and net income, so, yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow.
It's the halo effect. Sometimes when you walk up and ask the question, it's like, oh, I know the answer to the question already, it's right here. So again, we're getting a debit to the accounts payable. We're paying off some debt. It's a credit to cash because we use the cash to do it. There's also a purchase discount that's being applied. That counterintuitively is going into a credit column because it's working as the same as cash in terms of reducing our debt. Everybody's okay with that? So notice that the total in that credit column between the discounts and the cash needs to equal the debit to the accounts payable. Everybody see that? Okay, so to transact this, we have our date, vendor, check number, accounts payable debit. We have our purchases discount credit and our cash credit. Notice that the sum of those credits has to equal the total debit for the transaction. Everybody feel good about what we just see here? Let's do another. We wrote a check to SNR Imports to pay on account $2,512, covering purchase invoice 468 using check number 706. So here the accounts payable decreases, we're debiting that account because we're reducing the amount we owe. Cash is credited because that cash is leaving our pocket. No discount gets applied, so it's just like straight across. Everybody feel okay there? Joy?
So would you only debit cash and pay?
So whenever you are using cash to pay a bill, it's always credit, right? The debit would be if the cash is coming in for someone paying you, that would be a debit to cash. But right now we're talking about using cash to pay bills, pay for stuff, not from a sales situation. Everybody okay? The other place where cash can go out is between paying bills or replenishing a petty cash. Sure. So here are the examples, or the transaction says paid cash to replenish petty cash fund, $214.82 for advertising, $124 for store supplies, $62.18 for miscellaneous. I had those red raw. The replenished petty cash was $214. We paid $124 in advertising, store supplies $62.18, miscellaneous $28.95. Cash over was 31 cents. We used check number 707 to cover this. So notice that the date here, we're getting 4 transactions with the same check on that date. Notice to indicate that we don't give a separate date for each of those 4 things that are happening, or a repeated check number for any of those 4 things that were happening. We do it just once for the first one. And that's the indication that the whole thing is one transaction. So hopefully you'll notice that if I add up the 124, the 62, the 28.95, and then subtract the 31 cents, I get the 214.82. That's the petty cash replenishment that's replenishing these transactions. The petty cash, we probably kept $250 or something in petty cash that we want to replenish at the end of every month. Is everybody okay with that? Again, those transactions are debits because the cash going to petty cash is a credit that has to offset those. Since we had cash over, that means we had more money than we expected. We had like an extra 31 cents. So that became a credit. All right. What is the net price of an item with a $1,200 list price having a 60% trade discount? So 60% off of 1,200 means you're paying 40% of the actual price, which is $480. So pretty good discount if you can get it, right? Why would a vendor offer cash discount to customers? Encouraging early payment. It's less work for your business to have the debt paid immediately, and there's no tracking and having to invoice and like follow up and make sure bills get paid. You know, you don't have to carry that. You get your money as early as possible. What is recorded in the general amount columns of the cash payments journal? Any transactions that are not payments to the accounts payable, right? So anything other than payments to accounts payable get transactioned in the general columns. Or cash, I guess, cash or accounts payable. What is meant by the sale term 2/10 or N/30? 2/10 is 2% of the invoice amount. Would be deducted if paid within 10 days. N/30 means net 30. That's the total invoice amount must be paid within 30 days. So that's just some notation. When journalizing a cash payment to replenish petty cash, oh boy, bless you. What is entered in the account title column of the cash payments journal? The titles of the accounts for which the petty cash funds were used, right? We had advertising expenses and supplies and miscellaneous. Those were the titles that we used because those were the accounts where that stuff, the debits, would also be transacted to when we journalize the what's there. How is cash short recorded in the account? So, we saw when we had the cash over, it was a credit. So a cash short would be a debit. And that's that. Let's fire up our Cengage and run through the work together. All right. Oops. All right. So it says, once you've completed your entries, click grade this step to receive a grade for your work and activate and advance to the next step. There's 3 steps on this problem. The instructions say post the transactions from the purchase journal to the accounts payable ledger. If there is no value to be entered in a specific field, or if the value of the item is not relevant, leave the field blank to ensure correct grading. Okay, so we have 3 transactions to Pacific Supply, Coastal Company, and Yeatman Designs. So our tabs in our sub-ledgers to the accounts payable ledger are listed below. I'm already in Coastal Company, so let's do that transaction now. So this occurred on the 7th. I would reference this to page 10 of my journal. Oops. Is it P10 then? Yeah. Okay. Because it's the purchases journal, so I have to, we now have like up to 5 different journals, so when we do the post reference back to a journal, we need a letter to tell us which journal this is going to. So this is page 10 in the purchases journal, P for purchases. So we debit here, these guys, 532. That means I'm going to reduce $532 from my credit that we owe them. So that becomes 116.88, I think. I did the arithmetic correctly. And that was the vendor 210. So I'll complete my cycle and post reference back into my journal.
What was that number?
116688. It's just the difference between the balance. So let's hit check our answer. Oh, goodness gracious. Mr. Kulik, what did you do? Oh, I'm so dumb. Look at what I did. You see what I made? We're not paying for things right now. we're purchasing things. This is the purchase journal. That's not a credit, or the debit, that's a credit.
Exactly.
Good, great, googly moogly. So I have to add that up. I don't know. I need a calculator. The numbers are too inconvenient. They should just have like $10 for everything, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot more than that to it. But then you get to the.
22, 30, 88. Thank you. Okay, and then we'll check that stuff. That looks good. All right. So that is everything we need for Pacific or Coastal. Let's go to Pacific Supply next. So our first transaction was to Pacific Supply. That happened on the 2nd. We're using, again, Journal P, the purchases Journal P10. We bought, a lot of stuff from them, $252. And I add that up, 3,252 plus 925, 65, 4177.65. And then we gotta complete our cycle and post reference to our purchases journal, the vendor number, which was 230. Check our answer there, that looks good. We try, and the last one is Yeatman Designs. So that happened on the 11th. Again, we're in purchase journal page 10. 866 is what we bought from them. And when I add that to the 877, I have 1743. And this went back to account 250, and I'm ready to grade this step. Does everybody feel okay on what we did there? So it says the October purchase transaction for Golden Fabrics have been journalized. Total the purchases below. So the last day in October is the 31st. Should have total here, and then I just need to add down that credits column. So when I do that, I get 4650. Check our answer. Okay. And now post to the ledger. So my last thing I need to do is I post this total 2 places. It goes to the purchases journal or purchases ledger and the account payable ledger.
Use the restroom.
Yep. So,
Mr. Cooley, can you go back to page 2?
yes, sure.
You total and then add them all up. So that is
The last day of the month is the date, because you don't do the totaling before the end of the month, right? So October has 31 days. Total is what you're doing, and then you should add down that column. All right, so we record this totals now in 2 places, the accounts payable journal and the purchases journal. So that total that we just added up, the 4650, is a credit. And I have to add that to the existing credit of 6133.53, which gives me $10,783.53 of credit there. And I should record that, I think it's the second spot, I don't remember now.
Wait, I need to
You'll have to go over the line.
Oh, yeah, Dan.
I just added the new credit into the existing total, the balance is what I did to get that 10,000 number. Is I added the existing credit to the new credit we just put.
So we can't turn it in?
No, so I think it loses the progress. Mr. Cool, the Wi-Fi's down.
Yeah.
Okay,
Process.
So it won't work.
Oh, they got the special.
okay.
No, there's that too.
What number did you put up top? Sorry, I missed that.
The journal, or the account number for the accounts payable journal. So the other place that this is gonna go is into the purchases. So 31,
Back on.
we're on journal purchases, page 10. This is now going to be a debit to the purchases journal, so I'm gonna take the existing debit, which is 89,000 and change, and add to it that new debit, the 4650. 94128
Oh, I guess neither of them.
Wi-Fi's down.
Yeah, I get it.
What's that?
It's
Okay, then I just must have had them in the wrong spot, so just switch them. So Kaylin just told me that, we have these in the wrong spot. So it must be the credit before debit.
What was that big?
It was kind of weird. Debits.
Oh, okay, so it's gonna
Still not loaded.
be.
So it looks like the Wi-Fi's back.
Okay.
Yeah. It's getting there.
What was that big number? I don't know.
The 94.
Yeah, what?
So I just added the debit existing in that account to the new debit that I put in.
Oh, I just didn't put the cents. Whoops. Whoops.
Oh, we're back. Travis.
Travis, take Travis. Travis, take everyone.
Travis.
Travis, increase this man's walking speed times 100. Travis, take everyone's score. Turn to that like your phones.
Yes.
Oh, 4 guys. Yeah.
We do the 9.4.
I'm scared.
9.3, I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
I'm scared I'm not scared.
Oh.
I'm putting this up here.
Okay.
Why do you do that?
So no one goes through a bag. That's
Fool him once, shame on him.
Yeah,
Fool
I
him
bet.
twice, not gonna get fooled again. Okay. So I still need to pause for a minute, or are we ready to talk about 9.4?
Pretty ready.
No, I'm just trying to catch it up a little bit, for sure.
Start with that and then it'll be okay.
I mean, I might.
And for the previous one, like, under the totals, where you would put the, like, account table stuff, is it front?
Yeah, you do a parenthesis, what's the account number?
Oh. But I think it's, yeah.
That's right. Look at this one.
All right. So the instructions say, using October of the current year, journalize the transactions for Golden Fabrics on page 10 of a cash payment journal. The checks used as source documents are abbreviated as C. No C is needed as part of the check number. If there's no value to be entered in a specific field, or if the value of item is not relevant, leave it blank, blah, 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 blah. So, oops, I should set this. So we can go into this. All right. So I'm going to start by first entering in the page number for my journal. The page number should be 10. Where'd you get it? In the directions, right? Okay, and we'll enter the month. What month are we doing? October. Okay, and my first transaction occurs on the 2nd. Okay, the title, the October 2nd transaction says, wrote a check to Bilton Communications for telephone bill. So if I go and look at my accounts, and I look at my operating expenses, because that's what a telephone bill sounds like to me. Bless you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna look here and see, this sounds like a utilities expense, probably. Sound okay to you guys? Okay. And then go back to my transactions. The check number on that was 521. It's going to be a debit to the general in the amount of 124, because I know it's a cash credit since we're using that to pay. This make it easier to see all this stuff at one time. Is everybody okay with that first transaction? Let's hit check just to make sure. Okay. We're good on that row. Next transaction says October 3rd, wrote a check on account to Gray Manufacturing Incorporated covering purchases invoice 532 for $1,640, less 2% cash discount using check 522. So the date here should be the 3rd. My account title, this was
If you're not gonna move that, you're gonna sit there.
Gray Manufacturing, we use check 522. This is an accounts payable, we said we paid it there, right? How much did we pay? Well, we didn't pay 1,640, did we?
No.
We paid 2% less than that. How do I type that into my calculator? I type in 1640 times 0.98, right? So that's the credit that I or my cash credit. 98% of 1640 was 1,607.20 cents. The 1640 is credited to the accounts payable. That debited. The debit to the accounts payable is in the total amount, but I have that additional discount credit, which is the difference between what I paid for and what I owed. So that's the $32.80. Is everybody okay with that line on what we did? That one was rather complicated.
How do you get the accounts payable debit?
That is the amount that we owed, right? All that gets removed from the amount I owe. I paid for that, I got rid of that debt by giving this much cash and that much discount. So the sum of those two credits should equal the debit. And I checked my answer and we're good there. Is everybody okay still on what we're doing? We ready to go through the next transaction?
Yep.
Okay, what's the date? The 9th. Who are we paying?
Miscellaneous. LPF manufacturing.
Yeah, I think you're just one ahead. Oh. Let's look at,
So it says purchases.
yeah, so again, I'm gonna go back and look, it didn't take LPF, so I'm gonna go and look at my accounts. And since we're buying something, we don't have the, vendors as options. Remember, the vendors all live under the, are all related to purchases or whatever. So that's what I think. Sorry about that. We're buying some stuff here. Right? Notice the first two transactions are just paying bills. This time we're actually physically buying stuff. The check number here was 523. We got $1,575 of stuff, of merchandise, and we wrote a check in an equal amount.
Huh? No. Well, look at my eyes and say it.
Our next transaction occurred on the 12th. It says recorded the direct withdrawal of credit card fees from the account. So if I go and I look at my list of accounts, this is an expense, right? It's a credit card fees. So I think I would probably choose credit card fee expense as the relevant account. And we used M77, that was a memorandum apparently.
Here's the check. It's only going now. Mr. Hicks, or beyond that.
It's not a check.
Everybody ready for the next transaction? So on October 16th, we wrote a check to Westland Supply covering purchase invoice 516 for $426. No cash discount offered. We used check 524. So again, we're paying the person directly. So we're going to use their name. And the check number was 524. And we paid that with, where is it, 426. No discount, so just straight 426. Our last transaction was on the 31st. We recorded a replenishment of petty cash using check 525. And now to figure out how to, fill in the rest of this, I need to go and look at my petty cash report to see what I'm paying
What's the account title?
Yeah.
for.
Doesn't take petty cash.
So it's not petty cash, it's gonna be these guys, which is what I use the petty cash for. So I'm gonna have
Is it like amount to a fetish or something?
supplies office, And then I'm gonna have supply store. And then I'm gonna have miscellaneous. And then I have a cash short or over here. What does that say? It's an over. So that's gonna be the titles going down. And I'm getting that all from the petty cash report. Is everybody okay there?
Yeah.
Okay, so in the debit columns, I'm gonna have a debit to office supplies of $48.15. I'm gonna have a debit to the store supply of $57.18. A debit to miscellaneous for $47.64. And because it's an over, I have a debit of $1.05, $1.05. So my total payments, what do I need to replenish then? $154.02. I thought it would be on there. Was the amount in total that I replenished.
That's gonna take some practice. So that's one. Or just today's not the day for practice.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So again, it's, you know, like they give you all those other tabs to look at.
It's a lot of tabs.
Trying to go back and show you how I'm using like the accounts tab and the petty cash report tab to like know how to fill things in, right? Yeah. All right. I'm done talking. You guys take your remainder of your time here to work on the 9.3 and 9.4 assignments or past assignments. Before I leave today, I'm gonna check in the 9.1 and 9.2 stuff. So if you still have those guys outstanding, get those, try to get those taken care of.
So, you do that.